Good morning, friends, and today I want to talk with you about seeing the potential in another person and in yourself. I'll never forget the time when, as a young college administrator and assistant to the dean of students, I was called to interview a prospective student. It seems all the other top administrators were out of the office at that particular moment. So the admissions office called me and said, we don't know if we should admit this student or not. He has failed out of his previous college, and we have a few spots for students who've not had a sterling track record in their academic life, but we're not sure that we should include this one. So Fred walked into my office, and I interviewed him, and I liked him. For one thing, he had red hair, and I, at the time, had red hair. So I called back admissions after I was through interviewing him. I said, you know, he seems like a really neat young guy. I think we ought to take a chance on him. Well, today Fred teaches emergency medicine at Stanford University and is one of the great emergency room experts in America. Other people than myself also saw the potential in him. It's important that we see potential in our children, our grandchildren, our spouse. We not freeze people into our own expectations of what they can become. I think of the great American sculptor Gutzon Borglum. Borglum is the guy that did the four faces on Mount Rushmore, but he also did a head of Lincoln, which is very famous and is in our nation's capital. The story is told while he was sculpting the head of Lincoln one day, some friends came with them into his studio, bringing with them their little 10-year-old daughter, and while the adults were talking, the 10-year-old girl was walking through Borglum's studio looking at the various art pieces that he was working on, and she stood transfixed before the head of Lincoln. Borglum wasn't yet done with his Lincoln, but clearly the face of Lincoln was emerging. The protruding brow, the jutting chin, the sunken eyes, the angular nose, the hollow cheeks. And she went over to Borglum, and he noticed that she wanted to say something, so he turned to her and she said, Mr. Borglum, she said, is that Abraham Lincoln over there? And he was very pleased that a 10-year-old recognized the piece of art that he was working on, and he said, yes, it is. He said, why do you ask? She made a very profound answer. She said, how did you know he was in that rock? And I think of the original rock, Simon Peter, who was more a bowl of jelly than he was a rock, and yet Jesus saw in him potential, and from the get-go called him rock. He has that ability to size us up and see the potential in us that others do not see, and even the potential that we ourselves do not see. In fact, he wants to give us a whole new identity by calling us the sons and daughters of God. What an incredible privilege to have that kind of relationship where we are called sons and daughters of God. He sees potential in us, and he wants us to see the potential in the people around us and not imprison people within our negative expectations. Have faith in God and have faith in others.